Fake news and police helicopter cover-ups for October 16th. At 11:46 a.m., the police helicopter, actually a two-tone helicopter, went left to right in the copter pocket across the street, and it used a jumbo jet as a reason for descent. So it had one of the jumbos flying down over 24191, and it had the jumbo come at it. And so I said, wow, they used a jumbo jet. That's messed up, because now you have a locational situation and also now you have a situational one. And what's the probability of having such a situation at that same location? That's nonsense. And then they flew a couple more jumbo jets down. And so they used that for the descension and the turn there at the 24191, because there's a treacherous hill. At 12:07 p.m., the copter went left to right in the copter pocket if you're looking across the street from my house, and it was a medium-sized police copter, and it was tuned to sound stronger and heavy like a military copter, but it was smaller than the standard police helicopter, and it was doing a tail wave, and then it did a straight line cover-up of straight line cover-ups out over Alicia Park. So that doesn't mean like the straight line cover up of all time. I just wrote it slightly incorrectly. It means that when he started doing the straight line cover ups each night, he decided to do them going up and down my street, basically. So I would run down the street, stagger down the street. He tried to get me stuck at the park, and then we would race, I guess. I'd stagger, but run back down the street. And so this is the same line as some of the original cover ups. And so it's amazing that we're trying to prove personal interaction. That's the only thing that happens. They don't even work. And so then it continued out over Alicia Park. At 5:59 p.m., the police helicopter went right to left in the copter pocket and then made a right and did power circles out at Geronimo Montilla. And so it did the military copter turn cover up, and it also did power circles out of Geronimo Montilla. And so that's part of his routine now. He does circles out there, and that's just his regular routine, because any damning thing that he does that I record becomes part of the routine. And so Geronimo Montilla was when he did the tail wave when he started doing the cover-up, and he was really proud of himself, saying this is the cover-up of all cover-ups. And then I ran down to El Dorado Park at the ice-blocking hill and recorded him. And I had done that a few times, and that's around the time when he started creating the fake route around the neighborhood, because he would then try to race me back around to 24092. So I would get stuck at the park and we would have a standoff, and my point was exactly at the center of the ice block hill. That was the standoff point. So that's why he would go out slow to towards Tribuco Marguerite intersection, because that's where he would beat me back from. So we had a standoff. I'd stand there on the hill and then I'd stagger back. And so at 9:46 p.m., the police helicopter was in the copter pocket going right to left, and he was at Geronimo Cordillera when I saw him, and he was going really slow. So I don't think this was planned, and I think he was sneaking by, and I think he had a meltdown, got pissed off because he's like, that little bastard, he always sitting there and I can't even fly by. And so then he made a left and he came up towards El Dorado Park. So he crossed over Castilla, and then so that's the fake deviation line, and then he came up Olivera, and he was in the park then, and then like halfway up it where the little baseball diamond is, and then he made a left and he started coming towards me, but really slow, and my phone shut off, and so he still came slow, and that's the speed that he splits out of the park, because he mobbed over my head at 11 p.m. to leave me out and then do the spotlight. So now they have changed the speed. Sometimes he flies slow on his necessary split route of surveillance for the kids. And so then he continued down towards 24092, the fake Transformer firehouse. And this entire time, the assassin is harassing the hell out of me, freaking out on my head. So then I ran towards Solero. Oh, this is a part of it. I ran towards Solero Oliveira when he was coming up. So he had then went into the park, and I knew he was pissed. He was the way he was moving, and he was all into it. So I ran to Solero Oliveira to get close enough where he would get excited, and then I'd run back. And then that's when I started to run back, and my phone shut off, because I also had low storage, and I had to organize my stuff in order to take care of it. And that's why this happened too around this time. So at 9:52 then, I ran down the right wall. So I got off the truck and I ran. If you're looking at my house from the street, I ran down the wall in between my house and the fireman's house as my phone turned on. And then I recorded him from the back corner of the backyard, the back left where the star pine is. and then he started to curve left because I was stuck in the backyard. So he came across Oliveira and then crossed over about 3 houses down from me, the Solero Oliveira block. And then I jumped out of the other side wall and then came out onto the street. And he was started doing power circles 2 houses down while he was thinking about it. And he was like neurotic. All he wanted to do was spotlight me. He's like, should I do it here? Like it's like a switch. And so then as he was doing power circles on those houses, he moved slightly away, trying to draw me out for a little bit. And I said I wasn't going anywhere. And then he moved slightly back. And so then he turned, he did power circles from 9:50 until 10:30. And so he was stuck there. And I was saying, like, well, you're going to have to make up a call for this. This isn't regular surveillance and all this stuff. And so at the end of that, at 10:32, he turned on his green lights and he left. But he flew over my house, back out into El Dorado Park, slightly on an angle over the Star Pine, but closer to my backyard. And so it was the deviate from the park line. So he's like, oh yeah, I just came out and I was thinking, and then I went back on our official line, which was created to cover up for the 11 o'clock at night lead out with the spotlight event. And then he didn't go fully into the park. He made a right curve over the second house on my street towards Solero Oliveira intersection, and then he continued making a right and went out behind the tree at 24191. And then at 10:51, a somewhat like a military helicopter, but possibly a police helicopter, flew over my house, and it had just one small red tail light, solid, not flashing, and a big white headlight. And it flew from the Montevideo basically to Geronimo Montilla in a straight line, Montevideo Elementary School, and it flew in a straight line. And I think that was to solidify the fact that it's like a route, like this is the split safety route that the helicopters go on, because he just did that big event and then he flew back over my house. So that's personal connection and everyone knows it, but flying back over my house was ridiculous. And so then he, when I said that the helicopter had no lights, then he turned on his bright red flasher as he was leaving out towards Geronimo Montilla. And he was, at 11 p.m., the police copter, flew down left to right in the copter pocket across the street, and he was pulsing like hardcore, like so aggressively because he was pissed off. I don't know why he's pissed though, because he's the dumbass that created the whole event and got stuck on that house. So he should be pissed at himself.